really looking at yourself. Building self-awareness is the thing I'm talking about. And that is how you move into a space where you can have really juicy and delicious and beautiful relationships with your people. Hello, you gorgeous and sexy creature. Welcome to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationships you possibly can. My name is Jami Lynn. I'm a marriage and family therapist in the Austin area, and right now we're doing a little series specifically about relationship. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this series, and I'll probably do another one for sexuality, but having a good foundation, a good understanding of some key ideas is just helpful. It's so helpful because then we have the ability to reflect on ourselves. We have the ability to look at our own relationships and our own behaviors with a hopefully curious first, curious, compassionate, and a little bit of a critical eye. So not critical in terms of like being mean to yourself, but critical in terms of critiquing. How was I in this situation with my partner? How was I in that situation with my partner? Do I agree with the things I did and said? What were my thoughts like in that moment? Really looking at yourself. Building self-awareness is the thing I'm talking about. And that is how you move into a space where you can have really juicy and delicious and beautiful relationships with your people. You might have one person, you might have multiple people. Everyone's different, no judgment. All the possible ways of being in a relationship can work. It just depends on what works best for you. So, all of that said, what we're going to focus on today is just a really simple model to kind of understand triggering each other. And if you want to know the three main things that often are what causes us to be triggered in relationship, you can check out this video. I talk about three things that usually cause disruptions, conflicts, hurt in relationship. But today what we'll talk about is really the dance, the pattern between people that happens that causes conflict. And let me talk just about one individual first, then we'll look at the couple. So, human beings, we are a complex dynamic system. Another way to say that is we are constantly changing. There's a potential for evolution as well. But the reality is we're constantly changing. We do not stay in a single state all the time. When I'm recording, I'm a different person than when I'm with my partner versus when I'm with my best friends versus when I'm with a client. And the same is true for you. You move through different internal states based on whatever's going on around you. Yet another way to say this is we have different neural networks in our brain that create a different lived experience based on whatever input is coming in and also whatever input is coming up from our history. And so in any moment, you could be a slightly different person. And the way that I like to think about this is in the internal family systems parts language. So there are different parts of me that come up based on whatever's happening outside of me and inside of my mind. If you're wanting to learn more about parts specifically, you can check out this video and I go a bit more in depth into it. But for now, we just need to know that human beings are not homogenous. We're not always in a single state. We have different states, and you can personify those states by thinking about them as different parts of you. When I think about parts, there are a couple big broad categories that are just good to kind of keep in mind as you're building more awareness of yourself. So the first category that I think is really important to understand is the hurt parts. There are parts of us that hold pain, and that might be pain because of things we tell ourselves, beliefs that we hold about ourselves. It might be because of pain related to beliefs about the world. It might be pain related to actual harm you've experienced in your lifetime. So all of us, every single human being on this planet, they have some kind of hurt experience that lives in their system, and it's going to look different for everyone, but the hurt experience lives there kind of as a reminder almost of, I never ever want this to happen again. I have been hurt in the past. I will do whatever it takes to not feel that way again because it was so awful. And so out of the hurt parts, which usually develop very young, a next level of parts develop. And I think of these as the protective stances. These are the parts of us that their only job is to protect you so that you never ever feel hurt again. That's their only job. They don't actually care about anything else. All they care about is making it so that you never have to feel that hurt ever again. And then the last level I think of as the integrated brain. I've also heard people call this the adult brain. Either one works. Another way you can think about these different levels would be at the bottom, there's the hurt child. The protective stances are more like your adaptive children. They learned how to adapt to the world. I often find that they have a lot of teenage energy, but not always. And then the last one would be the adult brain, the adult part of you. And when it comes to the integrated brain, it is your most compassionate, your most loving, your most curious and open and accepting self. It's the part of you that can move and flow with the world. Not fighting against it, not fearing it, but instead just moving through the world, loving reality, loving yourself, being open to experience. Flow state, said a different way. So we each have these different levels, and depending on our history, depending on our experience, like we might live in one more than another. Some people live in hurt a lot of the time. Some people live in their protective stances the majority of the time. I would say that's a lot of people. A lot of us live in our protective stances a lot of the time. Maybe not most, but a lot of the time. And then there are people who are living more in their integrated brain for most of their life, and they really only pop into the other places if something happens outside of them that causes them to either feel hurt, scared, or causes them to move into protection. But we all have all of them. What's important to know is that in relationship, the thing that's happening is usually we do something that causes our partner to feel some of their hurt, not knowing that we did that, and then their protective stance comes up and does something in our direction that kind of pokes at our hurt, and then we move into our protective stance. And then what happens is we're just in this dance where protective stance and protective stance is fighting with each other. And it's not because these people want to fight, but it's because neither one of them wants to feel the hurt. Neither one of them wants to be in pain. And so their protective system turns on to try and get their partner to stop doing things that cause them hurt. Of course that's what their system does. Nobody wants to feel hurt. Nobody wants to feel pain. I don't know anybody that wants that. My mind, of course, turned to like masochism, but that's actually about pleasure. If you're really into being masochistic and sadistic, like in the end, that's actually about pleasure. So it's not really about wanting to feel pain necessarily. That's a tangent though. Let's come back to these two people who are engaging with each other from a protective stance place. And what's going to be helpful is an example of this, but first I want to give you a little bit more information about how protectors show up. There's two big ways that protectors show up. One is fix-it protectors, where these fix-it protectors believe there's something I can do. Either there's something I can bring in to this system, or there's something I can learn. There's something I can do that'll keep me from ever feeling the hurt again. Whereas other folks might have a getaway protector. I will just go away somehow. That might be through using substances, that might be through disconnecting, that might be through not feeling my feelings, but there's some way. There's a train passing, I'm sure you can hear it, sorry. There is some way that their protective system will attempt to get away so that they don't have to feel hurt. We usually find each other. Usually people who have more fix-it protectors will find people who have more getaway protectors and vice versa. But most of us, we can do both. We can do fix-it, we can do withdraw. It's totally just dependent on what's happening to you in that moment and what you tend to go to. So let me give you an example. Let's consider for a moment a couple where both people have an internal belief system, a core hurt that says, I'm not enough. And maybe what's going on in this partnership, my mind always goes to sex because a lot of my couples are working on this and because it's a big issue for a lot of people. Say in this partnership, both of them are wanting to connect sexually more, and yet for some reason it's hard. For some reason it's challenging for them. It might be because of trauma history, that might be because of fear initiating, that might be because they've had little moments of rupture sexually. Who knows? There could be so many reasons why this is hard, but they want to connect in this way and they're not. And one person might be someone who has getaway protectors and another person might be someone who has fix-it protectors. So what it would look like between them is fix-it protector person is going to say things like, I want to have more sex. We're not having enough sex. I'm really unhappy with our sex life. Trying to fix it, trying to resolve the problem. But when their protector says that, it immediately goes and hits the little hurt part that says, I'm not enough. Oh no, my partner's not happy with me sexually. I'm not good enough. And so then, because they're in their hurt part, their protector comes out and they start withdrawing. They start to do their getaway. They start closing in on themselves. They start feeling overwhelmed, and so they have to take space. Now the other partner, fix-it protector partner, their system does not take space. Their system tries to chase and fix, and so when their partner goes away, when their partner withdraws to protect themselves, usually what happens is fix-it protector, they don't understand. To them it feels like abandonment. I'm trying to talk to you about how I feel disconnected. I'm trying to fix our bond and you're leaving? What the heck? And for them, that going away is going to head straight to their hurt part that says, I'm not enough. And the story they might spin is, this person's not willing to fight for me. This person is going to leave. This person's not interested in being with me in this way. They don't care about me. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. Wherever it may go. And so then whenever they're in their hurt part, of course, their protective stance is going to come up even bigger. They're going to try and solve it even more. And then what happens is you just have this dance where the two protective stances are causing each person to feel triggered. The two protective stances are causing the other person to hurt. And it's not clear why things aren't being resolved. This is what a lot of people end up doing together in relationship. Not because they want to, but because it's hard not to. Until you start really relating to your own hurt and your own protective stances, your own defensiveness. Not defensiveness, but defenses, your own adaptive defenses. Until you start recognizing that, you can't actually change this. And it's just going to happen between you and other people. And so the solution, what you can do, is get your integrated brain involved. The part of you that can be curious, compassionate, accepting, open, loving. Get that involved by first calming yourself down. That is always step one. That will always be step one. If you're upset, if you're in a protector or you're in a hurt space, you're physiologically not capable of doing the compassionate witnessing moves that are necessary to create change in your nervous system. So first you have to calm yourself down. Find practices for you that work. I need to start making more videos with that kind of thing. For me, it's often movement, taking walks, being in nature, doing yoga, meditating, breathing. All these things that would be soothing to your nervous system. Spending time with people you love, laughing, all of that would help. And then once you're calm enough, beginning to reflect from your integrated brain, so with kindness, with curiosity, with compassion, reflect on your protective stances, your hurt parts, and then also your partner's protective stances and hurt parts. Become a detective. Get really curious about, what am I saying to myself in these moments? What am I so afraid of? What about my partner? What are they saying in these moments? What are they scared of? How might they be hurting? What does their behavior actually mean about their protective system, rather than the story I'm telling myself about their behavior related to me? So this is important. I need to make this more clear. So often, whenever our partner does some kind of behavior that's painful to us, we make up a story that it's about us. When in reality, the majority of the time, almost all the time, our partner's behavior is about them attempting to protect themselves. I'm not saying that their way of protecting themselves is adaptive now, but they learned how to do this from the time they were itty bitty, and it has helped them in their life. And so of course their system still does it. And so being compassionate, learning how to be really open and accepting towards the fact that all of us, every single human on this planet, is doing our best with the resources we have based on all of our experience up until this point. That's living in an integrated brain state. When you can do that, when you can look at yourself and the other person with loving curiosity, everything calms down enough that you can actually begin to have real conversations that make change and act in ways that create change. And usually it's not by getting rid of our fix-it protectors or getting rid of our getaway parts. No, those never actually go away. Instead, you start to learn to say to your partner, ooh, I feel this part of me coming up. Hold on, let me calm down so that I can stay with you. Nope, I'm gonna need 20 minutes. I'll be back whenever I'm calm again. Doing that, and then also holding yourself with love anytime the hurt comes up. Coming into a space where you don't have to protect yourself from feeling hurt, but instead you can hold yourself with loving kindness in the hurt. Because hurt is a part of life. It will sometimes happen. There's no way around it. The most you can do is hold yourself with love, tenderness, and grief. These are big concepts, I know. Some of this might sound entirely foreign to you, which is okay. That's all right. It gets easier and easier with time, especially as you start to experience it in your own life. But the place to begin is just knowing that your system is divided into these three areas: hurt parts, protective stances, integrated brain, the part of you that can be open, curious, loving, kind. Notice when you're in each one. Just start there. Just be curious about, when am I in a hurt part? When is that activated? When am I in a protector? When am I actually really able to accept the world and life as it is, with openness and love, and also grief, because that's part of life? Just be really curious about that initially. And as you do that more and more, you'll notice that it's easier to catch yourself in these moments of activation. And rather than having the old automatic reaction, you can choose how you want to react. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like it, remember to subscribe to my channel for more information like this, and I will see you next week.